The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Canada is asking the Philippines to deploy more health workers to its province of Ontario as its rising caseload pushes hospitals to the brink. Ontario's health ministry has made a similar request for more doctors and nurses from the U.S. and other countries. Ontario says it is in need of over 600 additional healthcare workers, as the number of COVID patients in Ontario's ICUs has more than doubled over the last month. Some Canadian provinces and government offices are now sending their teams to Ontario to help treat patients in Toronto's hardest-hit hospitals. Its health officials have said they are continuing their desperate international search for more medical professionals. But back in the Philippines, hospitals are also facing their own problems in terms of manpower. A hospital group says the health system is suffering from the so-called personalitis, as more health workers choose to resign or work abroad amid the rising number of COVID-19 patients. On One News' The Chiefs, Philippine Hospitals Association President Dr. Jaime Almora says the lack of medical personnel is forcing many hospitals to turn down patients. Almora adds that some hospitals may still have vacant beds, but they do not have enough doctors or nurses to attend to additional patients. The expert also explained that some health workers are choosing to resign or seek greener pastures abroad as they remain overworked and underpaid here in the country.
We don't have a problem with capacity. We have problem with capability. I've been always saying that. The data from DOH shows only the capacity. And there is no problem with the capacity. In fact, many beds, many wards are empty. Ang hospital ay may sakit na rin. Ang tawag ko dyan personalitis at saka financialitis. May problema sila sa personnel at saka may problema sa finances.
To address financial issues faced by hospitals, the Philippine Hospital Association is now seeking a dialogue with the Health Department and PhilHealth. This to discuss the delayed settlement of COVID-19 claims, which mostly puts private hospitals at a disadvantage. Almora also rues the new debit-credit payment mechanism of PhilHealth, saying it's unfair for hospitals as it only provides partial payments.
So we are asking for a dialogue dun sa DOH at saka PhilHealth at saka PHA para matrace out namin dahil may disconnect din yung mga policies ng DOH. DOH keeps on coming out with pronouncements na hindi naman magkakatugma dun sa implementation ng PhilHealth. So naiipit ang hospital. Kawawa talaga, especially I'm talking of private hospital.
A Chinese military magazine is reporting that Vietnam is building up its maritime militia in the South China Sea. According to Naval and Merchant Ships magazine, this move by Vietnam is an apparent challenge to Chinese efforts to dominate the disputed waterway. The publication raises concerns about this, saying the matter should be, quote, taken seriously and dealt with in a timely manner. In 2009, Vietnam passed a law that authorizes its maritime militia to conduct sea patrols and surveillance while expelling foreign vessels in Vietnamese-controlled islands and reefs. A decade later, Chinese and Vietnamese maritime militias clashed near the oil-rich Vanguard Bank while working in support of their respective coast guards. Former Defense Secretary Orly Mercado says half the battle in the West Philippine Sea can be won just by showing up. Speaking on 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, Mercado said the Philippines should at least match China's presence in the islands. He adds that the country's exclusive economic zone should at least be protected by our Coast Guard, fisherfolk, and even media personnel.
Kaya napaka-importante yung lagi kong sinasabi. Dapat meron silang milisya ng mga maritime militia. Dapat meron din tayo yung maritime militia. Gayahin din natin yun. Ngayon, maganda na ngayon. Yung Coast Guard nagpupunta ron. Pero dapat i-organize natin itong mga bantay kalikasan natin. Gawin natin yun ang milisya natin. Bigyan natin ng mga radyo. Tapos isama rin ng media. Doon sa pagpapatrulyang yan na-upload yung mga ginagawa ng mga Chino doon sa atin. So showing up is very important.
Community pantry organizers are now implementing uniform and limited operating hours to prevent patrons from community pantry hopping. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez gives us a front seat to the story.
Earlier this morning, hundreds lined up at this community pantry organized by private water concessionaire Maynilad. The line went long as expected, and at the end of it, I met Colin and his neighbors. Colin said they visit around 4 community pantries a day since last week.
Actually, may mga schedule kami. Sa umaga, tulad kahapon, simbahan, sa UP.
He said the situation in the early morning is the easiest, but the succeeding ones, not so much, especially with cut-offs.
Alam mo puhunan lang na community pantry? Tsaga. Tsaga talaga. Kahit ibinigay nila, may puhunan pa rin yung pagod, no?
Colin lost his job as a barber due to the pandemic. He is now reliant on government dole-out to pay off debt. And the pantries help him put food on the table.
Malaking tulong kasi nakakain na kami ng maayos, unlike before. Dati naubusan kami ng bigas eh. No? Ngayon, hindi na.
While the pantry's slogan states, kumuha ayon sa pangangailangan, magbigay batay sa kakayahan, Colin has no choice but to worry about the next few days. Since going pantry hopping, he has already bagged 15 kilos of rice and loads of other goods.
Ayan yun.
Ito yung mga dilatang na ipon at saka mga noodles. Ayan, noodles. Actually, may namigay pa nga ng munggo. Ayan, tsaka tuyok sa loob. Ayan. So, yung ayuda yan lahat. Ito yung pinila namin nung isang araw. So, ngayon, nilakuha natin sa Nawasa. Ito naman, no? Puro gulay, wala nang bigas kasi tinanghaling tayo. Ayan.
To avoid community pantry hopping, organizers in Quezon City will now implement uniform operating hours from 7:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. This will also prevent senior citizens and PWDs from lining up at the heat of noon. But for people like Colin, this still means waking up early, making the most of limited hours in an effort to live another day. I'm Pamela Vasquez and we are One News.
PNP Chief Dibold Sinas has bid farewell to some police officials with a little over a week left in office. Sinas is retiring on his 56th birthday on May 8th, after which he will be replaced by the president's next appointee. Sinas says he held his last command conference yesterday and will hold one last big event on May 1 before calling it a day. Asked about his possible replacement, Sinas says he's in no position to recommend his successor. But the police chief did say he trusts the president's judgment on the matter.
Lahat naman na mga PNP dito, generals are capable enough to lead the PNP. And kami will just wait for kung sino pong pipiliin ng presidente at siya po ang susuportahan ng buong PNP.
Car giant Toyota is building an entire city to test its self-driving cars. Let's take a look at this 175-acre self-driving city with Bloomberg's River Akira Davis.
The city is actually going to be built on an 175-acre plot at the base of Mount Fuji, and it looks, based on renderings, a lot like you would imagine a futuristic city looking like. So there's buildings, there's smart homes, and inside of the smart homes, Toyota says that there's going to be a range of automated services that take out your trash automatically or restock your refrigerator when things get low. And on the ground level, interestingly, streets are going to be split into 3 different kind of sections, one for pedestrians, another for slower vehicles like bikes, and the last for automated vehicles. So there's going to be autonomous vehicles running through the city, acting as mobile stores or delivering packages or providing transport to residents. A couple other interesting things about the city. One, it's going to be powered by hydrogen. And this really goes along with Toyota's push to develop hydrogen technologies like hydrogen-powered cars. And finally, and this goes back to the idea of an actual woven city, the name Woven comes from the idea of having sensors basically scattered throughout the city to talk with each other. Sensors will be placed in buildings and on streets and inside homes.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again later at 12 noon as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.